Mistakes like caring too much about what other people think, saying yes when your soul is begging you to say no, holding on to things that are quietly weighing you down, trying to prove your worth through constant doing, ignoring your own needs because you believe everyone else comes first. These aren't just habits, they become cycles. And unless you pause, unless you become aware, you keep spinning in them. Have you ever wondered why you feel tired, even when you've done nothing wrong? Why no matter how much you achieve, it still feels like something's missing? You're not broken, but you are stuck in silent habits that are stealing your happiness. And today, it's time to break free. You live in a world that's louder than ever. Everywhere you look, there are expectations, distractions, pressures, telling you who you should be, what you should want, how you should live. And yet, in the quiet moments when the noise fades, you feel this deep, unsettling emptiness. You wonder why, with so much going on, with so much to be grateful for, you still feel unhappy. But the truth is, it's not always the big things that rob you of joy. It's the small, silent mistakes. The habits you repeat over and over again without even realizing how much they drain you. Repeating the same mistakes, hoping life will feel better someday. But here's the truth. The shift begins with you, with a simple moment of awareness, with the decision to stop and ask yourself, is this how I want to keep living? You don't have to fix everything today. You don't have to become a brand new person overnight, but you do have to wake up to these patterns. You have to give yourself permission to let go of what's no longer serving you, to rewrite the beliefs that are keeping you stuck, to become the person who doesn't need to prove anything to feel worthy of peace. In this series, you're going to walk through 10 silent mistakes, the mistakes that quietly steal your happiness. But more importantly, you're going to learn how to stop repeating them. Because your life was never meant to be a cycle of survival. You are here to live with clarity, with purpose, with joy, and that journey begins right now. Number 1, caring too much about what other people think about you. Let's talk about something that quietly holds you back. Something that steals your peace, your creativity, your confidence. It's the habit of caring too much about what other people think about you. Now listen, I get it. It's human. You want to feel accepted. You want to be liked. You want to be seen as enough in the eyes of others. But the truth is, most of the time, people aren't even thinking about you. You imagine they are. You assume their eyes are on you. But in reality, they're too busy thinking about themselves, their worries, their insecurities, their own inner battles. And even when they are thinking about you, their thoughts are more about them, their mood, their perspective, their expectations of how they believe life should be. So let me ask you something. What would you do if you cared just a little less about their opinions? What dreams would you chase? What ideas would you bring to life? What parts of you would finally be free to express? Imagine the version of you that is not chained by someone else's mood, someone else's judgment, someone else's fleeting opinion. You know, caring less about what other people think is not selfish. It's not arrogance. It's the ultimate form of self-care. Because when you constantly bend yourself to meet everyone else's expectations, you lose alignment with who you really are. But when you start tuning down that noise, when you realize that their opinions don't define your worth, something powerful happens. You create space. Space to listen to your own voice. Space to follow your own intuition. Space to build a life that feels right for you. Ask yourself this. What would I make if I wasn't afraid of how people might react? What would I create if I wasn't worried about their comments, their criticism, their silence? The truth is, your art is not for everyone. Your ideas are not for everyone. And that's perfectly okay. But you are still worthy. Your vision is still valuable. Your dreams are still important. Think of all the moments you've held back, not because you weren't ready, but because you were afraid someone wouldn't approve. But here's the question you need to ask. How long will you let the fear of what they might think keep you from becoming who you're meant to be? Imagine if for once you trusted yourself first. You believed your voice mattered. You placed your own opinion above the background noise. Because that's what it is. Noise. and you have the power to turn it down. You don't need to mute it forever, but you can lower the volume enough so it no longer controls your life. When you trust yourself, something amazing shifts. You no longer seek constant approval. You no longer shrink your dreams to fit someone else's comfort zone. You begin to live aligned with your own values, your own passions, your own truth. Let me remind you of this. The people who are busy judging others, they're not doing more than you. They're not creating more than you. They're not building a life of courage. It's always easier to criticize from the sidelines. But you are on the field. You are showing up. You are trying. You are growing. And that deserves respect. So today I want you to give yourself permission to stop bending for everyone else. Take a deep breath. Feel that? That's your life. That's your moment. You don't need to apologize for existing. You don't need to ask permission to follow your heart. Who would you be if you stopped asking, will they like me, and started asking, do I like me? Who would you become if you cared a little less about who's watching and cared a little more about how you feel when you're alone with yourself? This is your time, not theirs, not their expectations, not their projections. So today, turn the noise down. Tune into you. Listen to what your heart's been trying to tell you all along. You are enough, not because of who approves, but because you are. Number 2, you fail to acknowledge your boundaries. There's a quiet kind of unhappiness that sneaks in when you ignore your own boundaries. It doesn't come all at once. It builds subtle, silent, day by day. You don't just feel unhappy, you start to feel bitter, frustrated, resentful. You see, boundaries are not just about keeping things out. They're about protecting what matters inside. When you fail to honor your own boundaries, it's not only you who suffers. It bleeds into your relationships. It shows up in your tone, your patience, your energy. Because resentment is loud, even when you're not saying a word. You overcommit. You say yes when you really mean no. You tolerate disrespect. You stay quiet to keep the peace. But inside it feels like a slow betrayal. Not by them, but by yourself. You might think you're keeping others happy. You might believe you're avoiding conflict, but the cost is always heavier than it seems. And here's a hard truth. The only people who get upset when you set boundaries are the ones who are benefiting from you not having any. Read that again. The ones who take your kindness for granted, the ones who expect you to always be available, the ones who never pause to ask how you're doing. They're the first to feel offended when you finally draw the line. But setting boundaries isn't about them. It's about you. It's about protecting your energy, your mental health, your peace. And it doesn't need to be loud or aggressive. You don't have to burn bridges. You don't have to explain yourself endlessly. But you do have to decide what's worth your time, what's worth your emotional energy, what's worth your peace. Because every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are saying no to something that could restore you. I know, sometimes it feels impossible, especially if you're a giver, especially if you're used to being the strong one, the reliable one, the go-to person. But you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't be everything for everyone and still be something for yourself. So how do you start? How do you begin to acknowledge and honor your own boundaries when it feels so hard? Start small. Start simple. Small boundaries can be mighty. Maybe it's giving yourself permission to take a few minutes of quiet in the morning before the world starts demanding your attention. Maybe it's deciding that you won't answer every message immediately. It's okay to be unavailable. It's okay to respond when you have the space. Maybe it's learning to say no thank you without following it with 5 reasons to make it sound more acceptable. Maybe it's allowing yourself to walk away from conversations that drain you. You don't owe everyone your energy. Every small boundary is a step towards self-respect. Every small no creates space for your bigger yes. Yes to your peace. Yes to your rest. Yes to your authenticity. And here's the truth. The right people will understand. The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. They won't guilt you. They won't punish you for protecting your peace. But the people who only loved your yes, the ones who were comfortable taking, they'll get uncomfortable. And that's okay. That discomfort is not your burden to carry. You see, boundaries are not a rejection of others. They are an acceptance of yourself. A declaration that says, My well-being matters too. My time is valuable. My peace is a priority. So stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself. Stop apologizing for needing space. Stop over-explaining why you can't always be available. You don't need anyone's permission to protect your own energy. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to people-pleasing, especially if you're afraid of disappointing others. But ask yourself this: how long will you keep disappointing yourself just to keep others comfortable? How many times will you ignore your own needs because you're afraid of being misunderstood? It's time to reclaim your space, to redefine what you allow and what you don't. And here's a reminder you might need today. You are allowed to change, you're allowed to grow, you're allowed to evolve past the version of you who tolerated too much. Growth will often require you to disappoint a few people who are used to your lack of boundaries. But that's not a bad thing. That's clarity. That's alignment. That's you choosing to live on purpose. So today, start small. Pick one boundary you've been ignoring. One place where you've been saying yes when you know it should be a no. Decide, just for today, to protect that space, to respect that boundary. With every small decision, you're teaching yourself that your needs are valid, that your peace matters. It won't be easy at first, but over time, it becomes freedom. It becomes self-love in action. And remember, every boundary you set is not a rejection of others. It's a deep, quiet commitment to yourself. You deserve relationships where you're not loved for how much you give, but for who you are. You deserve a life that isn't filled with silent resentment, but with genuine connection. And that begins with boundaries. Number 3, you take for granted what you once prayed for. There's a quiet trap you fall into sometimes. It's when you look at your life, your job, your relationships, your home, your possessions, and you feel unsatisfied. You feel restless. You feel like it's not enough, like you should be further by now, like you're missing something. But pause for a moment and think back. Think back to who you used to be, the version of you who prayed for exactly what you have now. The job you complain about? There was a time when you dreamed of having it. You worked for it. You prayed for an opportunity. You hoped someone would say, "You're hired." The relationship you now take for granted? There was a time when you wished to be seen, to be chosen, to be loved. The home you feel bored of. There was a time when having a place to call your own felt like a distant dream. You see, as a human, you are wired to adapt. You are wired to normalize the things you once celebrated. And that's not wrong. It's natural. But the danger is when you forget. When you lose connection to the gratitude for how far you've already come. This doesn't mean you should never want more. It doesn't mean you have to stay the same. Growth is part of life. Evolution is part of life. But even while you're growing, don't lose sight of the blessings you once begged for. Take a moment and breathe. Look around you. What do you have now that once felt impossible? Who do you have in your life that you once prayed would arrive? What moments are you rushing through that your past self would have slowed down just to savor? You see, gratitude isn't just about feeling good. It's a way of seeing. A way of remembering that while you may not be where you want to be, you are no longer where you used to be. And here's the truth. Gratitude doesn't mean you have to stay stuck. It doesn't mean you should tolerate things that no longer align with your growth. But even when it's time to let go, gratitude for how you got here makes the transition lighter. It reminds you that you are capable of receiving, that you've manifested dreams before, and you can do it again. When you feel unhappy with what you have, ask yourself, what changed? Is it the job, or is it how you see the job? Is it the relationship, or is it how you show up in the relationship? Is it life itself, or is it the lens you're looking through? Perspective is powerful. It can turn ordinary into extraordinary. It can turn I have to into I get to. It can turn dissatisfaction into appreciation. And in that space of gratitude, new clarity is born. You begin to see what still serves you, what's ready to grow, and what you're ready to release. But without bitterness, because the moment you take a breath and remember the prayers you once whispered, you realize you are living inside an answered prayer, even if it's not perfect, even if it's messy, even if you're ready for what's next. Honor the journey. Honor the version of you who fought to get here. When you focus only on what's missing, you rob yourself of the joy of what's present. So today, before you reach for the next goal, before you chase the next achievement, pause. Reflect on how far you've come. What did you used to pray for that now feels normal? What did you used to dream of that now feels small? It's not small. It's not insignificant. You just got used to it. But that's where gratitude breathes life again. It's in the simple things. The moments you used to wish for, a home-cooked meal, a text from someone you love, a quiet morning with no alarms. Those are the treasures. But they're easy to miss when you're always looking ahead. So even as you grow, even as you dream bigger, let gratitude anchor you. You can be grateful and still desire more. You can appreciate what you have and still evolve. But gratitude will change the way you pursue growth. It will soften the pressure. It will fill the gaps that chasing more will never satisfy. So here's your reminder. Don't take for granted what you once prayed for. Look around, appreciate it, bless it. And if it's time to move forward, let that movement be grounded in gratitude, not restlessness. Because when you build your future on a foundation of appreciation, you don't just chase success, you carry joy with you wherever you go. You're already walking in answered prayers. Honor them, see them, celebrate them. Number 4, you allow the past to distract you from the present. Number 4, you allow the past to distract you from the present. One of the deepest reasons why you feel disconnected, why you feel unhappy, is because you allow the past to steal your attention from the present. You get stuck in guilt, you get tangled in regret. And before you know it, you're no longer living in this moment. You're living in what could have been, what should have been, what you wish had been different. Guilt has a way of pulling you out of life. Regret becomes a loop that plays in your mind, replaying old mistakes, old decisions, old conversations. And while you're trapped in that loop, you miss what's right in front of you. The present moment, the simple joys, the small, quiet pleasures that are begging to be noticed. Have you ever felt guilty for not doing enough? For not being productive every second? For saying no to someone you love because you needed space? For setting a boundary and then questioning yourself afterward? Maybe you've felt guilty for getting sick and having to slow down. Maybe you've felt guilty for choosing rest over pushing yourself to exhaustion. Or perhaps you've felt that strange, uneasy guilt when you decide to relax. When you choose to do nothing for a moment, and yet your mind whispers you should be doing more. Sound familiar? If you've carried this guilt, I want to offer you a new perspective. You're not feeling guilty. You're feeling discomfort. You're feeling the unfamiliar sensation of putting yourself first, of taking care of your own needs without asking for permission. Guilt says, I've done something wrong. But what if what you're feeling is not guilt, but the discomfort of choosing self-care in a world that glorifies self-neglect? When you were taught that your worth is tied to productivity, that your value is in how much you can give, it makes sense that resting feels wrong. It makes sense that saying no feels uncomfortable. It makes sense that slowing down feels unfamiliar. But none of that makes it wrong. The past is always going to have a story to tell. It will remind you of times you didn't meet expectations. It will replay moments when you felt like you failed. But here's the truth. You are not required to live in that story. You don't have to stay trapped in the cycle of guilt and regret. You can choose, in this moment, to return to the present. The past cannot be changed, but it can be healed. And healing starts when you stop letting it distract you from the life that's happening right in front of you. Every time you feel that pull of guilt for doing what's best for you, pause and ask yourself, is this guilt or is this the discomfort of growth? Because growth often feels uncomfortable. It stretches you beyond old patterns. It challenges the beliefs that told you self-care is selfish. It rewrites the scripts that said you must always be available, always be busy, always be doing more. The discomfort you feel when you protect your peace, that's not guilt, that's transformation. The more you practice being present, the more you allow yourself to enjoy moments without earning them, the quieter that discomfort becomes. You don't need to deserve rest. You don't need to earn joy. You don't need to apologize for taking care of yourself. Living in the past only robs you of the beauty that is unfolding now. Right here, in this breath, in this moment. And here's the irony. The very things you regret, the moments you wish you had done differently, they can only be healed by how you choose to live today. You can't go back and change what happened, but you can choose to stop repeating the same patterns by living differently now. When you allow yourself to be fully present, you break the cycle. You free yourself from the weight of guilt that never belonged to you in the first place. So next time you feel guilty for resting, for saying no, for setting a boundary, pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself, this is not guilt. This is the discomfort of growth. You are not selfish for choosing peace. You are not lazy for honoring your body's need to rest. You are not wrong for protecting your energy. You are human. And part of being human is learning to live in the present without being imprisoned by the past. So today, give yourself permission to be here, to enjoy this moment without apology. Every time guilt tries to pull you back, bring yourself back to now. Every time regret tries to distract you, ground yourself in gratitude. You don't need to fix the past. You just need to live fully in the present. Because this moment, right now, is the only place where peace can exist. Let go, breathe, be here. Number 5, doing too many things at a time. You live in a world that glorifies being busy. The more tasks you juggle, the more plates you spin, the more valuable you think you are. But here's a quiet truth you often ignore. Doing too many things at once is not a badge of honor. It's a slow path to exhaustion, to overwhelm, to losing yourself. Yes, life is full. There's work. There are family responsibilities. There are goals and dreams. There's the endless list of things to do and people to show up for. But somewhere along the way, you made a mistake. You started measuring your worth by how much you could get done. You began believing that your value is in your output, that you are only enough when you've checked off every box and matched the pace of those around you. You look at others who seem to be doing more, achieving more, and you feel like you're falling behind. So you push yourself harder, try to catch up, stretch yourself thinner. But here's the real mistake. You forget to consider your own personal limits, your own time, your own energy. Instead of asking, how much can I get done today? What if you asked, how much do I have to give today? What do I want to give today? It might feel uncomfortable. It might even feel selfish to ask those questions. But that discomfort, that's a sign. A signal that you've been giving so much of yourself to others, you've forgotten how to check in with you. Overwhelm is not a normal state. Exhaustion is not a measure of success. Losing touch with what brings you joy is not an inevitable part of life. These are warnings. Warnings that you've been living on output mode for too long. Doing too many things at once dilutes your energy. You're everywhere, but not fully present anywhere. You're achieving, but not feeling fulfilled. You're moving fast, but you're not going deep. Life wasn't meant to be a constant race to keep up with everyone else. You don't need to earn your worth by doing more. You don't need to prove your value by being everything to everyone. It's time to pause, to slow down, to reassess. What do you truly have to give today? Not based on expectations, not based on comparison, but based on your own heart, your own energy, your own capacity. If you never check in with yourself, you'll end up pouring from an empty cup. You'll keep giving until you feel numb, until you no longer know what brings you joy, until life becomes a series of tasks instead of a journey to be savored. Here's a simple truth. You are allowed to do less. You are allowed to choose rest. You are allowed to be selective with where your energy goes. It's not laziness, it's wisdom. Imagine this. Instead of spreading yourself thin across 100 things, you gave your full presence to a few things that truly mattered. Imagine how different life would feel. When you give yourself permission to slow down, to do less, you begin to reconnect with what really matters to you. You'll find clarity, you'll find peace, you'll find joy in the simple things again. But that only happens when you stop glorifying busyness. You don't need to do everything. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to say yes to every demand. Your energy is a sacred resource. Spend it intentionally, protect it fiercely. Because if you don't, the world will continue to take and take until there's nothing left for you. So the next time you feel the urge to add another task, to take on another responsibility, pause and ask, how much do I truly have to give today? And if the answer is, I need to rest, honor that. It's not weakness, it's strength, it's clarity, it's self-respect. You were not created to live in a constant state of overwhelm. You were created to live with intention, with presence, with purpose. Doing too many things at once doesn't make you more successful. It makes you more distracted. It pulls you away from the very life you're working so hard to build. So today, choose to slow down. Choose to do less. Choose to give your energy to what truly matters. Your peace is more valuable than your productivity. Your joy is more important than your to-do list. You don't need to be everything to everyone. You just need to be present to yourself. That's where real fulfillment begins. Number 6, you let the outside world control your inner peace. There's a question that you can ask yourself whenever life starts to feel overwhelming. Whenever you feel rushed, anxious, or like everything is spinning too fast, you pause and you ask, is this chaos within me, or is it just around me? Most of the time, the rush is not inside. It's outside. It's in the noise of the world, in the demands, the expectations, the noise of everyone needing something right now. But here's the truth. Just because chaos surrounds you does not mean you have to absorb it. The world will always be in a hurry. People will always have demands. There will always be deadlines, traffic, notifications, news cycles, endless opinions. But none of that has the right to steal your inner calm, unless you give it permission. Your peace. It lives inside of you. It's not found in a perfectly quiet environment. It's not dependent on other people being calm. It's an inner sanctuary that you get to protect. But it takes practice, because the world teaches you to match its pace. If things are loud, you get louder. If things are urgent, you get hurried. If people around you are stressed, you feel guilty for not being stressed too. But here's the shift. You can choose to stay calm, even when everything around you feels chaotic. Your nervous system will thank you for it. In those overwhelming moments, when life feels like it's spinning, pause. Take a slow, deep breath. Ground yourself in this question. Is this mine to carry, or am I picking up what belongs to someone else? Not every crisis is your crisis. Not every demand requires your immediate attention. Not every mood needs to be matched. There's power in creating small, quiet moments throughout your day. Moments where you choose to slow down on purpose, even if it's just for a breath, even if it's just for a minute. Because that's all it takes to remind yourself, things can be chaotic around me, and I can still be calm within me. Imagine you're standing in the eye of a storm. All around you, the wind is wild. The noise is deafening, but in the center, in that still, quiet place, you are steady, you are present, you are at peace. That's the practice. To be the calm in the middle of life's storms, to resist the pull of urgency and noise, and choose inner quiet instead. It's not about ignoring problems. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about protecting your energy so that you can respond with clarity, with presence, and not from a place of panic. When you let the outside world dictate your inner peace, you live in reaction mode. Always responding, always on edge, always feeling like you're falling behind. But when you reclaim your inner calm, you shift from reacting to responding, from rushing to moving with intention. It starts with small decisions, choosing not to scroll when your mind feels overloaded, choosing to step outside and take a deep breath when the noise feels suffocating, choosing to pause before replying to that urgent message. Every small act of protecting your peace is an act of self-respect. And over time, your nervous system learns that it doesn't have to live in constant fight or flight, that it's safe to slow down, that calm is your home base. The outside world is going to keep moving fast. That's not going to change. But you can change how you move within it. You are allowed to slow down even when everyone else is speeding up. You are allowed to protect your energy even when others expect you to match their chaos. And here's a secret. When you hold on to your calm, you give others permission to find theirs too. You become a lighthouse in a stormy sea, a steady, quiet presence that reminds people they don't have to live in constant overwhelm. But it starts with you, choosing, moment by moment, to ask, is this within me or just around me? And then choosing to stay rooted in your peace. You don't have to be perfect at it. It's a practice. Some days the world's noise will get inside. That's okay. The goal isn't to never feel stress. The goal is to build the habit of returning to yourself again and again. Because your peace is your power. It's where your best decisions come from. It's where your joy lives. It's where clarity is born. The world will keep being loud, but you can choose to be still. Number 7, you don't see when it's time to move on. One of the hardest things you face is knowing when it's time to let go, to move on, to release something you've been holding on to for far too long. It could be a relationship. It could be a job. It could be an old goal, an outdated belief, a past version of yourself that no longer fits. But here's what you often do. You convince yourself that letting go is the hardest part, that moving on is the most painful step. So you stay, you hold on, you carry the weight of things that no longer serve you. But the truth is, holding on is much harder. Holding on means waking up every day carrying a burden that drains your energy. It means questioning yourself again and again, wondering why you feel stuck, why you feel tired, why life feels heavier than it should. Letting go feels scary because it's unknown, but holding on, that's exhausting because it's constant. You think you're keeping yourself safe by staying where it's familiar. But what you're really doing is keeping yourself stuck. There are things in your life that you've outgrown, but out of fear, out of habit, out of loyalty to the past, you're still holding on. Maybe it's clutter in your home, stuff that no longer brings you joy, but you feel guilty getting rid of. Maybe it's a relationship that's become one-sided, where you're the only one still fighting for connection. Maybe it's a job that once felt exciting, but now feels like it's draining your soul. And maybe, just maybe, it's not about the things or the people. Maybe it's about an old idea of who you thought you had to be. A belief that no longer fits who you're becoming. But you've been telling yourself, it's too hard to let go. It's too painful to walk away. I don't know who I'll be without this. Let me gently remind you, the real pain comes from holding on to what's no longer meant for you. Holding on takes your energy. Holding on clouds your clarity. Holding on keeps you living in yesterday when life is inviting you into a new season. Moving on doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're making space. Space for growth. Space for healing. Space for something better. But you have to give yourself permission. Permission to say, I've done what I could here. I've learned what I needed to learn. And now it's time. It's not easy. Change rarely is, but staying stuck hurts more in the long run. You deserve to be free from the things that weigh you down. You deserve to wake up feeling light, feeling aligned, feeling like you are no longer dragging the past into your present. So here's a gentle challenge. Take an honest look at your life today. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that is holding me back? Maybe it's a belief that you're not good enough. Maybe it's a project that no longer excites you. Maybe it's a friendship that has quietly become toxic. Maybe it's the fear of disappointing others if you choose to walk away. But what about disappointing yourself if you stay? Your future is asking you to create space. Space that only comes when you let go of what no longer fits. And you don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to rip it away overnight. You can start small, one item, one conversation, one thought at a time. But you do have to start, because the longer you hold on, the heavier it becomes, and you deserve to feel light again. Moving on is not about giving up. It's about honoring your growth. It's about recognizing that you're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to outgrow things that once felt right. You're allowed to create a life that feels aligned with who you are becoming. So today I invite you to pause, to listen, to ask yourself, is it time to let this go? Because when you do, you make room for something beautiful, something new, something that aligns with the person you are becoming. You don't have to carry this forever. You're allowed to move on. And when you do, you'll realize it wasn't letting go that was hard. It was holding on. Number 8. You stay stuck in unhappy beliefs just to be right. As a human being, you have a natural tendency to hold on tightly to what you believe. You build your life around certain thoughts, certain ideas, certain beliefs that feel safe, that feel familiar. And once you've believed something for a long time, you start to think, this is who I am. This is the truth. This is how it's always going to be. But here's the catch. Beliefs are not facts. Beliefs are not permanent. Beliefs are thoughts you've repeated over and over again until they felt real. And sometimes those beliefs become cages. They keep you stuck in unhappiness, in limitation, in frustration, because you're so attached to being right. You want to be right about who hurt you. You want to be right about why you can't change. You want to be right about why things didn't work out. But what if being right is costing you your peace? What if the belief you've been holding on to is the very thing that's keeping you from moving forward? Maybe you believe I'm not good enough. Maybe you believe nothing ever works out for me. Maybe you believe I can't trust anyone. Or maybe it's subtler. I should have been farther by now. I can't change who I am. This is just how life is. But here's the truth. Beliefs can evolve. You are allowed to change your mind. Changing your mind doesn't mean you were wrong before. It simply means you've grown. It means you've learned something new. It means you're allowing yourself to step into a higher perspective. Yet so often you stay stuck in unhappy beliefs just to avoid the discomfort of admitting it's time to shift. But happiness, growth, peace, they all require that you release the need to always be right. It's not about ego, it's about freedom. Ask yourself, is this belief helping me? Is this belief bringing me peace? Is this belief allowing me to grow? If the answer is no, then why are you holding on to it? Sometimes you stay stuck because you think changing your mind means betraying your past. You feel like you need to stay loyal to the version of yourself that first believed that thought. But that's not loyalty, that's self-abandonment. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to outgrow ideas that no longer serve you. Imagine a tree. It doesn't hold on to every single leaf it's ever grown. When a leaf has served its season, it falls, and the tree makes space for new growth. You are the same. The thoughts and beliefs that got you here might not be the same ones that will take you to where you want to go. Growth is not about proving you were always right. It's about recognizing when something is no longer right for you. You're not betraying yourself by letting go of old beliefs. You're honoring yourself. Think about a time when you believed something that you no longer believe today. Maybe it was about the world. Maybe it was about relationships. Maybe it was about yourself. Did letting go of that belief make you weaker, or did it free you to see things in a clearer light? Growth is not about collecting trophies of rightness. It's about choosing peace over pride, joy over judgment, curiosity over certainty. So today, give yourself permission to ask, what belief am I holding on to that is keeping me stuck? Maybe it's time to loosen your grip. Maybe it's time to allow a new perspective to enter in. Maybe it's time to let yourself be free. Because happiness requires flexibility. The more rigid you are in your beliefs, the less room you have for new joy, new opportunities, new ways of thinking that could actually serve you better. You don't have to believe everything you think. You don't have to stay attached to old stories that no longer feel true. Give yourself permission to evolve, because when you do, you create space for happiness to meet you where you are now. Being right isn't worth being stuck. Let go, grow. Choose freedom over fear. Number 9, putting too much weight on the end result. You've heard the phrase, it's about the journey, not the destination. But how often do you actually live by it? So often, you get caught up in chasing goals, dreams, results, that you forget to actually live while you're pursuing them. You become so focused on where you're going, so fixated on how far away you still are, that you lose sight of where you are now. And suddenly, the journey feels heavy, exhausting, unhappy. When you put too much weight on the end result, you rob yourself of the small moments of joy that exist in the process. You tell yourself, I'll be happy when I get there. I'll feel fulfilled once I achieve this. I'll finally rest when it's done. But what if there never comes in the way you expect? What if the goal changes? What if you change? The truth is, goals are important. Having direction matters. But when you become so obsessed with the outcome, you lose connection to the present moment. And that disconnection breeds unhappiness. So pause for a moment, ask yourself, why did I start this journey? What was the reason this goal mattered to me in the beginning? Sometimes, when you dig deeper, you realize the goal was never really yours. It was an expectation someone else had for you, a standard set by society, a version of success that doesn't even resonate with who you are today. And yet you keep pushing toward it, thinking that happiness is waiting for you on the other side. But here's a gentle truth. If you're miserable in the process, the destination won't magically fix it. Happiness isn't hiding at the finish line. It's built in the steps you take every single day. So ask yourself, what parts of this journey am I actually enjoying? What moments light me up? What parts am I only doing because I think I should? Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is give yourself permission to adjust the path, to change directions, to redefine the destination, even if it feels uncertain, even if you don't know where it will lead. Because staying on a path that no longer feels aligned is not perseverance, it's self-neglect. You're allowed to take a new route. You're allowed to slow down. You're allowed to pivot when your heart tells you it's time. The journey should not be something you have to survive just to get to a moment of brief satisfaction. It should be filled with moments that nourish you, moments that remind you why you started, moments that bring joy even amidst the effort. You don't have to earn your right to enjoy life by sacrificing every ounce of peace and presence until you make it. Success is not just about the goal. It's about who you become along the way. It's about the lessons, the growth, the connections you build in the process. And if you're too busy rushing to the end, you'll miss it all. So check in with yourself. Is this goal still meaningful to you? Or are you chasing it because you think you're supposed to? If it still matters, then slow down and reconnect with the present steps. Celebrate the small wins. Find joy in the process. If it no longer feels right, give yourself permission to change the plan. You are not trapped by the goals you set when you were a different version of yourself. You are evolving. Your dreams can evolve too. And even if you don't have the next steps figured out, trust that clarity comes with movement, one honest step at a time. Let go of the need to predict the destination. Focus on the quality of the journey, because when you take care of the journey, the destination will take care of itself. Number 10. You don't make yourself a priority. You matter too. In a world that's constantly pulling at you, demanding your attention, your energy, your time, it's easy to forget that you're allowed to be a priority in your own life. There will always be people who need you, projects that want your focus, responsibilities that feel urgent. But in the middle of it all, you need you even more. You need your own care. You need your own attention. And you need it not later, not when things settle down, but now. Yet how often do you convince yourself that self-care is a luxury, something extra, something you'll get to when everything else is handled? But here's the truth. The moment when you feel like you don't have time to take care of yourself is the exact moment you need to stop and take care of yourself. When you're overwhelmed, when your energy is drained, when your mind feels cluttered, that is not the time to keep pushing through. That is the moment to pause. This is your permission slip to take a breath, to take a step back, to remember that you are human, not a machine. You don't have to earn your right to rest. You don't have to prove your worth through constant doing. Your value is not measured by how busy you are. Making yourself a priority is not selfish. It's essential, because if you're empty, if you're depleted, you can't show up fully for anyone else. So start small if you need to. Even 5 minutes of intentional care can begin to shift things. Maybe it's sitting quietly with your coffee before the world wakes up. Maybe it's stepping outside to feel the sun on your face. Maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't align with your energy today. It doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be real, intentional, consistent. Your well-being deserves a place on your priority list, not as an afterthought, but as a foundation. Because when you prioritize you, everything else flows more smoothly. You show up better. You feel clearer. You connect deeper. But it starts with making a choice to stop neglecting yourself, a choice to remember that you are worthy of care. You are not here to live in a constant state of burnout. You are not here to run on empty while convincing yourself that it's noble. Taking care of yourself is an act of courage. It's a declaration that your life matters, your peace matters, your health matters. The more you practice making yourself a priority, the more you'll realize this isn't about taking time away from others. It's about bringing a fuller, healthier version of you to everything you do. So if this moment feels like one of those times when you just don't have time to pause, to breathe, to check in with yourself, let this be the sign that you need it the most. Give yourself permission to take care. Not someday. Not when it's convenient. Now. Because you matter, because your life deserves your attention, because you are not meant to be last on your own list. You are worthy of being your own priority. And it starts with one choice, one small act of care. Today. Before I end this video, I want you to know something deeply important. This is the time to take your power back. You've spent so much of your life carrying weights that were never meant for you. You've allowed the past to distract you from the present. You've juggled too many tasks, thinking that busyness equals worth. You've let the noise of the outside world dictate your inner peace. You've held on to things, beliefs, and people long after their time had passed, because letting go felt too hard. You've stayed stuck in unhappy stories just to be right. You've placed so much pressure on the end result that you've forgotten how to actually live while you're chasing it. But here's the truth. You don't have to live this way. You are not here to be a prisoner of your past. You are not here to exhaust yourself proving your worth to a world that's always in a rush. You are not here to absorb the chaos around you and call it your identity. You are here to be present, to breathe, to live fully in the moment you are in, not in the regrets of yesterday, not in the worries of tomorrow, but here, now, in this breath. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to rest without guilt. You are allowed to set boundaries without apology. You are allowed to grow beyond old beliefs that no longer serve you. Letting go doesn't mean you've failed. It means you've learned. It means you've outgrown what once kept you safe but now keeps you small. Every moment you choose peace over chaos, clarity over rush, self-respect over people-pleasing, you take your power back. You don't need permission to evolve. You don't need to earn your right to rest. You don't need to be everything to everyone. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your path. It's okay to not have it all figured out. What's not okay is abandoning yourself for a life that no longer feels like yours. From this moment on, decide to live with intention. Decide to protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Decide to move at your own pace, not at the frantic pace the world demands of you. Decide to give yourself permission to be here, fully, without apology. The peace you're searching for isn't at the finish line. It's in the choice to be present now. The joy you want doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters. You are not behind. You are not late. You're exactly where you need to be to begin again. So breathe, let go, start fresh, take your power back. Because this life, your life, is waiting for you to show up. If this message spoke to you, it's not an accident. It's a reminder. You deserve peace, not just productivity. So if you're ready to reclaim your energy and live with intention, like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and make sure you subscribe for more life-changing insights. Your new beginning starts now.